But
meeting.
in Fort, they do it twice.
Oh.
I think, my opinion.
I was gonna talk a little bit. I attended the mayor's meeting, and the keynote speaker was Ed McMahon, who was with the Urban Land Institute, and I think he had some very good ideas, and I brought this back to the commissioners. But, so we'll discuss with Maya. It was a very productive meeting. There's no mayor in the state of Maryland that is in the same position that I am as far as the government's concerned. So, there's something wrong someplace. But with that, we'll go to the staff reports. And are you ready, Mr. Bonneberger?
Yes, I am, sir. Real quick, a couple of things I don't want to pass over is, first of all, I want to thank the Public Works employees for getting on the stick so quick and getting the town turned purple to celebrate the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. They got that paper in, got it all cut up and in a short amount of time, and it sort of hate taking them down. It actually looks pretty neat. So I wanted to make sure that we let them appreciate that. Commissioner Osborne, you're going to you have the opportunity to talk about some street repaving stuff, so I'm going to pass over mine. The dog park commissioner, Marion, will cover some of the things on that. I just want to add that I was able to set up a meeting with State Highway and potentially the county to discuss sidewalks in and around Triangle Park. If you remember one of the previous meetings, I had said that we had looked at that as being a phase 2 or 3 and we might run short on money. But I've always been an advocate of the fact that we are spending money that's benefiting the state and the county to some degree. So we've at least got their attention to say, hey, maybe we can enter into a partnership to move those phases 2 and 3 along a lot quicker. Sewer and water, real quick. The project is about 32% done now, the sewer and water, the sewer project, the sewer plant. There's been a couple different technical issues that have had to be resolved with the town engineer and the staff. One was handicap accessibility. We're still trying to grapple with that. One of the buildings was not designed with handicap accessible features in it, so we've got to figure out what we're going to do with that. There were also some design issues where, let me just say, there's moving parts and things moving around, but they're running right across a set of steps to go down, which would make the employee have to literally bend over like a Congo line and get down the steps. That's something that just got through the design engineer. So we're trying to work on working within the footprint of what we have without incurring any more costs to try to accommodate that kind of stuff. We also had a workers' access area and the clarifier. Basically what it is if you and I were to draw the access area, we draw a nice pretty set of steps in there, but we might forget to actually do some measurements to see how it's going to look, and actually in reality the steps are going to cross one another, the 2 sets of steps. So that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to work out that got through the design engineer. This is normal under USDA. We have to give them a revised project budget, so we basically have to reevaluate all the budget numbers that we gave them in the past and reallocate and see where things play out. You read in the paper recently through mainly on the work of Chester Water that in the design of their water line through Pennsylvania, they are making some changes that could conceivably save us roughly about $1 million, which is a nice benefit to the resident in terms of rates that they would have to pay in the future. Commissioner Naughton and I are going to be meeting with the water engineer to sort of figure out what the next steps. I want to remind everybody, Chester Water is building the line in Pennsylvania. We are responsible for the line in Maryland. And so we've got to get together with our people and start to lay the groundwork on what that's going to be looking like to get prices for that. And you already saw the Davenport proposal was approved, which has to do with continuing our work for the finances. Planning and Zoning Board met last night. They didn't have any cases, but they did come to a good conclusion on how to deal with the sign issue we have in town. Right now, when you drive up and down the street of Main Street, a good number of the signs, for whatever reason, do not comply with the town's zoning code. For instance, if you imagine if you were running a business in town and you wanted to put a sign in front of your business, our code limits it to a 9-square-foot sign. So if you're running a little business or a restaurant, you're limited to a 3-by-3 sign. That's what the zoning code says. Most people don't have a 3-by-3 sign, and they've had them for years. And so when they wear out and need to be fixed, they come in before us to fix them, and unfortunately, we have to make them go through the planning and zoning process because they don't comply with the signs. So we've come up with some language that, at the very least, will allow existing signs to be fixed, retrofitted, whatever, within the same confines, so to speak. Because, we really don't want to be inhibiting business by making them spend money they really don't need to be spending just to improve their sign. So the Planning and Zoning Board is working on that. They will have a case on March 25th. That's regarding a church that is looking to move in up on Colonial Way in conjunction with the Boys and Girls Club. So that'll be at the March meeting. I don't have any code enforcement issues. The elected body, you have the financial reports in front of you. If you want, you could have Patricia stand up and do a 5-minute blurb on it.
Why don't we defer it till next
Okay,
meeting?
that's what I'm throwing out there. And that concludes the staff reports.
Okay.
Can I ask a question here? Should we ask Ms. Wagner if it's suitable for her to come to the next meeting rather than just,
Keep it in the road.
rather than give us a short blurb?
Excuse me?
It would be cheaper for you all.
Okay.
For her to give us.
I can go through it really fast.
Well, please do. I have to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Well, I've been getting up at 4 every morning, so. Let's turn to the January government, which should be the first one. And basically, I'm just going to point out a couple of things. On page 3, just so you all know, we have $329,817.81 in cash. And then we have some investments of $89,000, so we're doing pretty good considering that we have $614,585 worth of total assets. Most of our receivables at this time have been collected. Let's go to page 4. We have so far $1,112,896. We have spent $779,260. We're in the positive right now of cash flow of $333,636.47. We spend about $111,000 each month on average. The most important thing, and we'll go to the very last page of the government fund, so I told you I could be fast, is the budget to actual. We have $1.4 million in the budget of revenue. We have collected 1.1. We have 288,000 to go. 257,000 of that is the Park and Recreation grant money, which will we get that this year, you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. As you can see, we budgeted 1.2 million. We spent only 779,260. We are in the good 448,000. If you go down this column, you will see that almost every single line item, we are to the good for the budget. The big one that really sticks out, of course, is accounting and auditing, and that's because we have it all at the beginning of the year, the audit project. And the other one is legal, which we're over the budget by $13,361.81. So budget to actual, we're actually doing very well. Any questions?
Where did the money come for Calvin's raise?
the money come for Calvin's raise. If you go back to
Well,
your
you don't
budget
have
to
do it
actual,
now.
you will see that right now, we are 11,815 just in the government, and that's not the extra money in the
But
proprietary.
was it budgeted for salaries?
We have enough budgeted salaries to cover the raise, if that's what you're asking.
Well, how come we were so over in salaries?
We weren't over in salaries, we were over in legal. And accounting and auditing, because the audit is all billed out at the beginning of the year. And we take that fee and divide it by 12.
And why is Parks and Rec in the proprietary fund?
It's not in the proprietary fund, we're in the
Well, I thought
government fund.
you just mentioned it you asked about.
I said we
whether
were getting
money
ready to
was
go
gonna
to
be
the
available this
proprietary
year.
fund. We're in the government fund.
I thought you said we were gonna skip the proprietary fund.
No, I said we're gonna do the government first, that's what we always do first, and then we'll do the proprietary. We're in the government fund, the big long pages. The last of the big long pages is where I just left off. Budget to actual,
You can continue this one.
huh?
You're good.
Good, now let's go to the proprietary fund. Just to point out to everybody, we have 452,000 in cash, and the MLGIP, which is our savings, is 971,000. If you go down, you will see restricted cash, which is the 13 million that we haven't spent so far of the sewer project is 9.5 million. And the loan in the sewer is 13.1, which we haven't paid any of that principal down. So far, if you go to page 4, we've collected 598,000, water and sewer combined. We have spent 532 for a positive operating income of 66,381. Then we have other revenue, which is interest income and interest expense, that has a net positive effect of $10,937. So our positive net income is $77,318 combined water and sewer. If you go back to budget to actual, which is page 8, we are right now positive revenue over budget by $44,725. We are over expenditures by $24,740.58. If you go back up, the main part of that is $28,876 of the budgeted legal expenses. It's over, actual is over budget by $28,000. So if we had not had that, we would have broke even.
Ms. Wagner, are these unintended lawsuits that's costing us?
Yes. So we have a positive change after the other revenue of ins and outs of $19,943.97. Any questions? I appreciate you letting me go tonight, because I'm tired.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wagner.
Mhm.
Thank you for staying this long and for presenting it to us.
Okay. Historic, anybody here from the historic?
We're here, but what do you want to know?
Well, it just says she's gonna make a report. What do you wanna tell us?
You want to tell me? No.
Okay, any old business? New business? Okay, so where's the citizens input?
So we have commissioner comments.
Are we going to do our commissioners' reports?
Oh, yeah. Commissioner Berkowitz passes up. Next up is Mr. Marion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a meeting with the Actor Watershed and the Department of Natural Resources regarding Triangle Park. I also met with our electrician, and Calvin spoke a little bit about we are going to meet with the State Highway Administration regarding the possibility of getting sidewalks. I also, back in the summer, the board passed a resolution placing me in charge of economic development. I had an economic development meeting yesterday with some state officials regarding the RFP that we are going to issue. And I also just wanted to say thank you to our Public Works officials for the great job they did with turning the town of Rising Sun purple. So,
Who
thank
said,
you.
who appointed you?
The board did.
Be nice to tell me.
There was a resolution that was passed now.
Oh, I didn't hear, you met with,
State officials.
and there was something else you said after that, that you,
State road don't have any.
State Highway Administration, yes, I met with them regarding Triangle Park with sidewalks, because as you are aware, that is a state road.
after that, you said something about, some kind of a grant or some, I don't know what you said, I couldn't hear it.
That's a county road, it's not a state road.
So.
Mountain Street is.
The alphabet letter that you said, ERFP.
Oh, an RFP, yes,
RFP.
the RFP that we are going to issue regarding the economic development summary, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so what's an RFP?
A request for proposal.
Ah, okay, not up on all
Thank you,
these.
Mr. Mayor.
Mountain Street is not a state road, it's a county road, and so is Walnut Street,
I understand that, sir.
so.
We are going to be talking to them regarding the issue that we are relieving them of sediment control. I'm aware that it is a county road. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. I just want to reflect a little bit back on what we've been talking about tonight, and saving the town money and being cost effective. And I hear that we're over budget $13,361 for the 7 months from July 2012 to January 2013. And that's just for the last 7 months. I had wanted to get some updated numbers that are current and reflect the actual legal fees in since our last meeting a month ago. But I did look at invoices for legal fees regarding lawsuits brought against the town regarding water and sewer issues. One lawsuit that attempted to stop construction of the wastewater treatment plant. One brought by a developer that was triggered by that first lawsuit, and another lawsuit that questions ordinances passed by this board. And the total for those lawsuits, and none of the current numbers including the last month, but just so residents know, when we hear from people who are talking about not wanting to pay professionals to look out for the best interest of the town and save them some money, these lawsuits now total, because that 13,361 was set for 7 months. The last numbers I had were $86,000. Those are all invoiced legal expenses, courtesy of Robert Fisher. $86,000 in legal expenses. That is not overages in the line item for, that is the direct result of the legal fees we have had to pay to attorneys because of the 2 lawsuits that Robert Fisher brought against the town and the lawsuit brought by a developer because of the lawsuit Mr. Fisher brought against the town. Make no mistake, we are going to hear, of course, that this is another attempt by the town attorney to profit The majority of these legal fees were not incurred by the town attorney. They were incurred by the law firm of, that Mr. Colorisi works for, Karpinski. That is the majority of those legal fees. When I say the majority, we are talking about the vast majority of those legal fees. The lion's share of those legal fees have gone to Mr. Colorisi's firm. He is not the town attorney. He is the attorney representing the town on behalf of the town regarding the FRAPA lawsuit. I just want to make that clear for residents when we hear about a raise for a town administrator who has negotiated contracts and gotten grants for us, and is basically doing as Ms. Osborne pointed out, doing 2 jobs for the price of 1, and we have someone else who is taking money out of your pockets and who is risking a $20 million lawsuit. And I don't want us to forget that when a resident asked him, what would he do if he had to pay $20,000, his share of the legal fees, if we lose the lawsuit? He said, I'll write a check.
I didn't say.
Now,
You did too!
I was here also. And I tell my daughter to do the same thing. That's
Exactly what you said, Mr. Fisher.
Okay, well, that's what I would do.
You don't have it.
thank you, sir, for clarifying that. I have just a couple of other comments that I'll make very briefly. They are not exactly time related, but I wanted to share them with you. Last week, I went to my first county council meeting as a member of the Library Board of Trustees, where we received a proclamation for the work we do with small businesses, and it was very nice to be recognized for that work I do. That's a very enjoyable board, and the library staff here in Rochester is outstanding. We're very lucky to have them. I also attended, I wasn't able to go to the service because it was my daughter's nap time, but there was a reception afterwards. Outside the town limits on Little New York Road, there's a small Episcopal convent, the Episcopal Convent of St. Teresa. They celebrated their 10th anniversary, and I went for their tea and reception after the service on Sunday afternoon. That was very nice. And I also want to thank everyone in the community, staff here at town, my colleagues on the board, neighbors and friends here in town who have been so supportive. My wife had to have surgery, and I was home taking care of her. I had a note for a week off of work so I could take care of her. I was home taking care of a wife who's recovering from surgery and a little girl who's 2.5. So I had my hands full. So thank you all so much for your cards, for stopping by, for visiting, bringing food to the house. This is a wonderful community. I love living here. I love the people. Thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Osborne.
The first thing that I would like to say is it's too bad it rained the Tuesday or the Tuesday after the Ravens won their game, because we were going to get our sidewalks chalked with the logo of the Ravens, but it rained so they couldn't come. The second thing is we have had a resident in Rising Sun for many years, a gentleman by the name of Robert Cum. He was born April the 26th, 1920, and he passed away January the 5th, 2012. And his wife recently received this notice from the President of the United States. It says, "The United States of America honors the memory of Robert Wesley Cum. This certificate is awarded by a grateful nation in recognition of devoted and selfless consecration to the service of our country in the armed forces of the United States." Mr. Cum was in the Navy. He was a naval veteran from World War II. He was at Pearl Harbor. And so this is a copy of it. Very, very nice man, and his wife was very grateful to receive this, and I thought the town should participate in that acknowledgement of his service and his life. The second thing I wanted to, next thing, I guess it's the third thing now. The third thing that I wanted to discuss was the sidewalks and roads. Mr. Bonenberger and I met with the engineer, making a list for the street and sidewalk improvements that we have planned for this year. We are, we went through the scope of each street, Mount Street, where it goes from Main Street down to Pogue Avenue. And actually the part of Mount Street that makes the corner where towards the high school, where the yield is, onto Pearl Street. The scope of the work on Cherry Street, east and west, the scope of the work on Cooper Avenue, the scope of work on Walnut Street, from basically right past the Methodist Church down to where the sidewalk ends, where the curbing is higher than the roadway by an inch to an inch and a half in most places. The last thing I would like to bring up is that we now have things we've been working on prepared to the point that I will be ready to call on volunteers like Shirley Debish, Augie Pearson, and George Walker to be reviewing the old minutes to get them the resolutions and ordinances that were passed in prior years out in the open. And the final thing that I would like to say, even though I said that was the last, it wasn't, there's one more thing I wanted to say, is that if an employee loses a paycheck, we will cut them a new check, but they need to pay for the stop payment fee. And that is the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, well, I thank everybody for coming tonight. It's hours late, so try to be as brief as you can. If I can figure out how to work it. So, Mr. Pearson.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Mr. Mayor, I'll be very quick with this. First of all, so you all understand, when the incident happened to Sandy, Jay Gullo at that time made us very much aware that our private computers could be summoned as town evidence. So what you did tonight was nothing different than he's really been trying to tell us for many years, okay? Also, Mr. Mayor, for somebody who's lived here for 71 years, how come I knew the two employees that went from the town commissioner to a town job, and you didn't?
Well, it probably happened when I wasn't.
Oh, when you weren't here. So during that time period, you mean many things could have happened that you didn't know about? Thank you. Okay, now, let's put the blame where it belongs right now. Because I'm extremely tired of you going through this town and blaming the Frapple lawsuit, if we lose it, on me. Because I spoke the truth to you. Yeah, Mr. Fisher, you run your mouth and told everybody that if we lose the Frapple lawsuit, it's because Augie Pearson put a number out there, and that's wrong. You are the cause of the Frapple lawsuit. I'm the effect. So let's make that extremely clear right now. And unfortunately, I don't have deep pockets like you to go hire a lawyer to sue your ass, or I would. Now, something extremely troubles me more than all of this. This is a public forum. It is a legal document, correct? Whatever is said here is legal.
The minutes are the legal document.
Mr. Berkowitz and Mr. Fisher, have you met each other privately since you filed the lawsuit?
Probably.
Probably. You do not find that, Charlie, as a conflict of interest?
What do you mean, privately in reference to the lawsuit?
It doesn't make a difference.
No. Other issues, not about that lawsuit. Let's get it straight now.
Okay, let me put it this way. Then why was Rick Braun's car there too?
That's the whole issue, the complaint. I can't get into it all. You know personnel issues. Why am I going to sit here? I'm not going to engage you. No, it was not about the lawsuit. Know your
But
facts
you
before you
but you
accuse. Know
shouldn't-
your facts, Augie.
Okay, let's go
No.
back to what we had earlier. The appearance. I wish that you would request Mr. Colorisi to investigate this further about the meeting between Mr. Fisher, Mr. Braun, and Mr. Berkowitz, and Commissioner Berkowitz.
I encourage you to do that. I ask that you do that.
Please do.
Thank you.
I encourage you to do it.
Chip, you said you didn't want to, you got too late.
I gotta go sleep.
Yeah.
Not really.
Mr. Moon.
I'd just like to clarify a couple of things that were said here tonight, so that you have the correct facts. I've been a member of the Historic Commission since its reincarnation back in 2005. My wife was very instrumental in that reincarnation. She was the secretary to the historic group. I was a special advisor to the board at that time. So I know a little bit about what the bylaws say, because I wrote them. And they were adopted by the Historic Commission. The bylaws for the Historic Commission, number one, it is in the charter. This town is commanded by its charter to have a historic commission. It's mandatory. Back in 2004, there is a couple more people in this room that were involved. We put the pressure on the board to reinstate that commission because it was part of the charter. That's number one. Number two, that charter and the town charter, both charters, say that this board and the mayor will appoint 2 representatives on the commissioner's board. I mean the Historic Commission board. Now, those 2 members that are appointed, the reason for the commissioners being involved is the fact that they are to represent the town and bear witness for the interest of the town. What do I mean by that? Very simple. All the artifacts in the historic museum right behind us belong to the town. They do not belong to any individual except those items that are in there that are on loan to the museum. Otherwise, the artifacts are the town's. It's also a reason, is also that this town has donated or given lots of money to the Historic Commission. And therefore, those 2 representatives are appointed for that reason. So there's reasons why these people are appointed. Now, I've sat on that board for many, many years. When I was appointed mayor is when I resigned, and I'm sorry I did. The two appointees are not picked by the Historic Commission. Anybody that's interested, number one, the only requirement is that you belong to the historic group, the preservation group. That's the only requirement. You pay the dues out of your own pocket. $20 for a family. So, Mr. Fisher, you were wrong when you said, what does the town have business doing this? That's why the town has business doing it. This board, or some members of this board, were involved in the donation for the 150th celebration from the town, which was a considerable donation. The Historic Commission, don't hold me to this exact figure, but I think we raised somewhere in excess of $74,000 or $80,000 to put on the 150. This board donated, if I remember the figure right, 13,000. Was it 15,000? I stand corrected. So I just wanted this board to know the involvement of the town with that, and if you allow me, my involvement. Yes, I am disappointed that my appointment did not go through, but I'm not bitter about it. I'm still a member of the commission, and I still intend to go to their meetings, and I'll have a voice. Oh, by the way, I forgot one important thing. The other 5 members of the Historic Commission board are voted into office by the members of the commission. So there is input from the community. All you have to do is join the Preservation Commission. You want to be on that board? Come on to the meeting, pay your $20, put your name into the hat. You might be surprised. Oh, and there is another thing. There's an opening on that board right now. You don't have 7 members as the bylaws state. There's an opening. The member who was asked to sign the financial disclosure, thank you. He resigned his appointment because he did not want to sign or fill out that form. He did not resign from the commission. He's still a member of the Preservation Commission. But now there's an opening there for an appointee. I volunteered because nobody else wants it. Nobody wants to fill out that financial disclosure form. I'm going to fill it out. It's no big deal. I've read it thoroughly through. It doesn't ask me for my salary. It doesn't ask me for my money. None of that is asked in that form. So with that, I thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, with that being said, thank you, Mr. Mummy. I would like you to reconsider Resolution 2013-01, and I would like the town to reappoint Ms. Diane Earhart and to appoint Mr. Thomas S. Mummy to serve on the Board of Directors of the Residence and Historical Commission. I make the motion.
Well, I think we're in a different part of it.
We're still in an active meeting.
Can't we defer it till the next meeting?
He can make a motion anytime
We're
he
still in
wants,
an active
especially a
meeting.
recall motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to approve the motion to appoint Diane Earhart and Mr. Mummy as the appointed directors to the Historical Society.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'd like to ask a question of Diane. Do you
Except
object to
that
being?
I'm not Diane.
Oh, you're not Diane, okay.
Dee.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I get people confused. I know your face, but I don't, names are hard. Pardon me. Never mind.
What's the question?
Forget the question.
What do you want to know?
Nothing. Not important.
I'm on the board.
I was just wondering if Diane objects to being appointed now instead of in May. You can't answer that question, can you?
She emailed me, we can't answer anybody, and that's, you thought I was Diane.
Yes.
Okay.
I know that you're Dee, but, you know,
Does she fill out that disclosure?
doesn't always,
Ms. Osborne, it was my understanding that she filled out our financial and ethics disclosure forms, and that she was willing to retake the appointment. That was my understanding.
that's fine.
Any more comment?
Yeah, just a couple. If I may address the audience, Ms. Ansley, Ms. Gibney, was what Mr. Mummy brought to us tonight, is that accurate as far as you all know?
Not completely to my knowledge. Most of it, but there are
Okay.
some things that I don't agree with.
But I mean, the balance of it, that this board does appoint 2 members to your board.
This board does appoint 2 members to the board of the Historic Commission.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, thank you.
They don't appoint them now.
Oh,
We could appoint one, though, to fill the vacancy.
Well, Diane? Okay.
thank you both, and thank you, Mr. Mummy, for clarifying this whole situation. That is an option, I guess we have. We have the option to do that, to fill the vacancy.
The one thing I would clarify,
Sure.
first of all, in some of the other code work we've done, we've talked about declaring the month of July as a month to get all this housekeeping in order.
Appointments and things like that, right?
Yes, and
right.
we've had problems over the years with sort of forgetting things. The code says that it's a 2-year term. They were appointed in January of 2011. So when some of the board members came to me expressing concern about the board having to dissolve because it didn't have enough board members, I'm suggesting just make, because they technically only run 2 years, and they technically ran out in January of this year, just to make sure there's no hiccup for you guys and whether or not you continue to move forward, just make the appointments. That way there's no discrepancy.
Would-
Because the appointment is only for 2 years, and they were appointed in January.
Right. Okay.
So that's the only reason why I would recommend you just do it and clean up other sections of our code to make sure we're doing it as you suggest, concurrent with elections. Because last time, I think the positions went vacant for a good number of months before.
Vice President.
Yeah.
So now we're appointing for the unexpired term, or are we appointing for a full 2-year term?
Get full 2-year term.
We have a motion on the floor for 2 appointments.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, but I'm questioning whether it's.
I'm not making an amendment.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Muck.
Okay, that takes care of that. Shelley was here.
Mayor, Commissioners. Hi, how are you? First, I just wanted to address something that kind of bothers me as a person living in Rising Sun. I read an article in Herald that some personal documents were given from someone here to the newspaper regarding Mr. Bonneberger's contract and some personal emails and so forth and so on. And that's very disturbing to me on a couple levels. As a person that lives here and say a town employee left and we would need to hire another administrator, how does that reflect to a potential candidate for the job when the very people that they're working for is providing personal, which I would consider human resource type of documentation to the newspaper? That's a problem. So I'm gonna ask everybody up here in I guess, the air of having a, what is that, transparent government, Ms. Osborne, did you give the Herald that information?
No, Mrs. Bashir, I did not.
Mr. Berkowitz, did you give the Herald that information?
I did not.
Mr. Mayor, did you give the
No, I
Herald?
did not.
Mr. Naughton, did you give the Herald that information?
No, I did not.
Mr. Marion?
No, Ms. LaShare, I did not.
Mr. Bonneberger, I'm not gonna ask